All right, grab your seats, please. Grab your seats, get comfortable. Everything working? Ready to go? So listen, I got to thank you from the bottom of our hearts that you came today on a Saturday, giving us your time on Saturday, and on a rainy day. Right? Some of the husbands, I know you're kind of like, what am I doing here? Well, I promise to make it fun, informative, and we're all here for one thing, basically, just the word home ownership. Right? The word home ownership, we're all here for that. Whether we own property now, maybe several properties, I know a couple of you do. Some are here because they're looking to buy their first house. Others are here because they're buying the next house. We're relocating. We like to think that, that you would consider us as a real estate resource for you, no matter where you're going, no matter what you're doing. Anything related to your home, we would be honored if we could assist you with that. And we'll get into that in more detail. So my name's Ron Cronin. Everyone say hi, Ron.
Hi, Ron.
One more time. It made me feel warm and welcome. And yeah, and so I obviously work with my wife Michelle, which I'm very proud of. I want to know I'm supposed to use my slides. I'm sorry. Right there you go. Welcome. Okay. All right. I'll get the hang of this. Okay. So hi. Welcome. Come on in. Grab a seat. We host these educational events like this. This is our way of giving back to the community, to San Diego, to North County, to our friends, our past customers, our database. You know, and as far as a real estate agent goes, what can we do? Well, we can keep you informed. We can keep you up to date. We can show you the ins and outs. We can help you save money, all aspects regarding your real estate. So we do something once a month. It's usually here in our office. We've done another seminar before. Next month we have something special that I'll talk to you about that you're welcome to pop by for. But this is our way to enrich the community as far as real estate goes. I find, I've been an agent for 28 years this year. 28 years, and I find that the scariest part about this business is that I find most of the consumers, they don't really have a high understanding of buying, selling property, how to do it, how it works, what to do next. And, they find themselves renting or continuing to do that for long periods of time, or staying in the same house and never investing. So we think that education is the best way to assist you. We like to, share the knowledge that we have. Combined, there's 5 real estate agents on our team combined, and with our knowledge together, we can't be beat. And as I said, we look forward to being your real estate resource. We are a full-service real estate team, full service, and I think everyone here is here except Kason and Megan. But of course, my wife Michelle, myself, my daughter Riley. Riley, say hi, wave. My daughter Riley, real estate agent. Kason, he's out doing an open house for us right now in Vista right now. Anna's here. Where are you, Anna?
Right here.
Anna's over here on our wall. She's another great listing buying agent on our team. And then Megan handles all of the transactions for us so that we make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and you get a nice, beautiful file at the end of your transaction. So we work together. As I said, we'd like you to think of us as your real estate resource on all levels. Anything related to the house, call us. I had a client call me several months ago at the beginning of the year. He says, Ron, there's a palm tree down in my front yard. And this was on Saturday morning. I went, why are you calling me? And he's like, well, what do I do? So I quickly helped him out, got the city of Vista over there, and they came and took care of the tree. But that was really fun because he thinks of us, anything related to the house, and I'd be honored if you guys would do the same. All right? Okay, good. So what's on our agenda today? Well, we're going to talk briefly about what's happening in the market because I think it's a little confusing for everybody. I'll tell you what's happening in the market really depends on what is your media source. Does that make sense? Because everybody's saying different things. You turn on one channel, it's this, another channel, it's that. The fact that we have the internet and everyone can put their opinions up, well, we have thousands and thousands of opinions on what's going on in the market. How about this? How about if I give you all the data and then you folks can make your own opinion? Is that fair? Right? Okay, good. I was watching on some Facebook Reels the other day. I was watching where Barbara Corcoran came on and said, our market's strong, now's the time to do it, keep going. And then I did a couple more swipes, and another gentleman comes on and says, the market's going to crash! Move all your money out of real estate. And it's just unbelievable. So I'll give you all the data today, and you can make up your own minds on that. We're going to cover some strategies as a seller, how to get the most money for your property. I'm going to talk about maximizing the sale of your home. Home buying strategies. Who's looking to buy a home or buy another home or is in the process of that? Okay, good. We're going to talk about some strategies to make sure that you are in the best position possible. I've got some experts here today. Experts here. I have our guest speaker, Summer. Everybody say hi to Summer. And Summer's from Gem Mortgage, and she's going to talk to you about what's going on with interest rates and where are they headed, why are they here, what, like the whole deal. She's going to discuss that. And then we're going to talk about some advantages of home ownership. Okay? Hey, come on in, Jake. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, I guess the first question why everybody really came is what's going on in the market, right? What's going on in the real estate market? So, here's the truth. There's not that many homes available for sale right now. Our inventory is dramatically low, and it has been for several years now. The inventory, the number of homes for sale. And I'm going to teach everyone today, you're going to get real clear that where the market's going, what's happening in the market, whether it's up or down or a buyer's or seller's market, it all depends on one thing. Everybody repeat after me, say the inventory.
The inventory.
It all depends on the inventory. Prices depend on the inventory. Okay, how long it takes to sell depends on the inventory. What buyers are doing, whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, it all depends on the inventory. So, let's say that as far as inventory goes, right now we have in North County, there's 1.8 months supply of homes for sale. So under 2 months supply. So meaning if no other homes came on the market and we just kept doing real estate the way we're going to do, there would be 0 homes for sale in less than 2 months. Everyone understand? When markets are normal, it would be 6 to 7 months worth of inventory would be considered a neutral market. A neutral market. We have very little inventory, so that means it's a seller's market technically, meaning that the advantages are to the seller at this point. Okay, some of the advantages. Okay, now when the inventory is very high, who owned property in 2008, 9, 10? Anybody own property those years, right? In 2010, we had 12 months supply of homes. 12 months supply. Now we have less than 2 months supply, which is why we're experiencing with all the conditions that we're experiencing. Okay, so we're going to get real clear on inventory.
I'm going to fix that for you.
That doesn't sound too good. You know what this is? You know how to? Yeah, good. I think it's okay.
Yeah, it's just check the battery. Let's see the battery. Yeah,
All right,
still
it's working. All right, so I'll come to this in a second.
Ron,
Yes.
why are the interest rates going up?
This doesn't back
who is
up.
that up to?
Doesn't back up. Say again, please.
Why are the interest rates going up? Like, why are they so high?
Okay, so that's a great question, Norman. I'm going to ask you to hang on to that question because I'm going to let this gal, she's going to give you the whole enchilada, okay, of how that goes, all right? But the interest rates are based on the Federal Reserve deciding where it's going to be. And right now, government's trying to control inflation by raising the prime rate. All loans, all types of loans are based on the prime rate that the Federal Reserve sets. So if they raise the rate, it'll be a few weeks later and you'll notice it in your interest on automobile loans. Now those rates are higher. Now the home loans are higher. Everything is based on that, okay?
Shouldn't we not buy then if it's going up?
That's a good question. We're going
Or
to cover
why are
that
the
too.
prices going up?
That's a third good question that I'm going to answer. Tell you what, Norma, I'm so glad you're here. And guess what? This one, all this is in this book right here. Okay, good. So, thank you. All right, good. So now this is what's interesting. Okay, the mortgage rates fluctuating 6, 7, in the 7s, in the 6s. That's the new norm. That's the new norm. It was also the old norm for many, many years. Okay, for many, many years. A couple of years ago, anybody take advantage of the low interest rates when they got below 3%? Did you guys score one of those?
That's the reason there's no inventory.
One of the
Because we
reasons.
own our homes at
Right.
3% interest.
Exactly.
And
No, don't
I
wanna
don't
move.
want to go get a loan for 7% interest.
Right.
I'm going to pay cash for my house,
Yeah.
the next house, or I'm not going to sell.
Exactly. And that's how a lot of people think. But because they're in these really nifty low interest loans, then they don't want to put their house on the market and move. So then that adds to the lack of inventory. Correct. Okay. So what's interesting though is 7% 7% is a 50-year average. So over the last 50 years, 7% is the average. It's been as high, well, who owned property in 1981? Anybody old enough for that? Yeah, okay, good, 1981. Interest rates, 18.5% nationally, 18.5%. Can you imagine if we had anything like that now? Right? Okay, but interest rates were super high in the early 80s, and then they bounce and so forth.
And who was the president back then? It was Ronald Reagan.
It was.
Remember Reaganomics and how he, you know, you're talking about it came from Jimmy Carter too.
Oh, it goes
and
back.
stagflation and the whole thing.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the Fed tried to stymie that back then, and they caused what was going on then.
Correct.
Yeah, Ryan, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was I paid 8%, but I only had a $50,000 loan.
No, exactly.
Beautiful.
Exactly, right?
Do I have
$2
a
million,
$50,000 loan?
Yeah.
8% is staggering.
Yeah, because you could buy it, and I lived in Orange County at the time, and my parents bought a beautiful 4-bedroom, gorgeous home, about 3,000 square feet for $75,000. Right? Exactly. So the hand in hand. So as rates go up, that's a good evidence. As rates go up, what does that do to prices?
Usually brings the prices down.
Prices down. As rates go up, prices have to come down because the buyers can no longer afford to buy the properties at the rates they are, so the sellers need to adjust if they need to get their home sold.
But when there's a lack of inventory,
Which
it
is
has
what
an
we're experiencing now.
inverse effect.
Which is why the rates having gone up recently have not affected our sales prices, because there's still hardly any homes for sale. Everyone got that? Questions on that? Norma?
Is it just like a certain price point that you're, that you're talking about, or is it like all across? Like it just seems like the $2 million homes are easier to come across a little bit.
Well, and when you get a $2 million for a property or higher, what happens is we have a smaller pool of buyers who are able to afford that caliber of a home. Smaller pool of buyers. Around in this area, if you have like $700,000 to $800,000, that's the biggest pool of buyers that we have right now in that price range, and that's just a modest home here in North County. I mean, for $800,000, in Carlsbad, I think you could probably buy a condominium. You could have a pretty nice house in Vista. You could get a fair house in Oceanside. That's just the standard pricing right now for the
You
area.
get 2 acres out in Fallbrook.
And get a couple acres in Fallbrook, yeah. Okay, good. All right, so we're at that 50-year average. But here's the thing. Right now, home prices are ticking up again. They're ticking up again due to lack of inventory. I think people realizing the importance of home ownership is also causing the prices to go up, and the demand for homes now is that they're realizing that the importance of home ownership and how long do you want and how long can you continue to rent if that's the situation. And will you be able to rent in the future? Okay. I got to tell you right now, and Summer can attest to this, the number of investors right now is way up. Number of investors is way up. When we start having trouble in the stock market, when the stock market starts to do weird things, those people often will move their money out, move it to something more secure, and they're moving it into real estate. So we see a lot of investors right now. All right. So that's causing those prices to go up again. All right. So let's look specifically at what's going on. The latest data that we have is for October. Okay, we don't have November's yet. We won't tell it for a couple more weeks. But we're talking about October, excuse me, of 23. We have the 22 here. So specifically, some things to look at. If we look at the average sales price for 2022, it was 1,345. This year in October, it's 1,479. It's up almost 10%. Okay. I wanted to show you the inventory of homes for sale. Last year at this month, we had 2.5 months supply. It's gone down. We're less than 2 months, as I mentioned to you before. 28% difference. All right, so, and when we look at some of these things, we can see that the number of new listings, fewer than we've seen. Right now, this is just North County, and I think it's about 12 zip codes that they're using in this. Right, and you guys understand where we are here. Okay, good. Sellers are receiving right now in October 99, almost 100% of their asking price, where last month, it was fluctuating. It was a little more than 100%. But on average, most of them get the price that they're looking for if you're looking to sell your home right now. You're not going to really have to negotiate up. And with some aggressive pricing strategy, we can even get the price to go over, and many times, depending on the property itself. Questions on these numbers?
Yeah, North County, where does that start?
Well, it's so we're in the corner, the northwest corner in Oceanside, and then it goes Vista, San Marcos, and Escondido.
Okay.
And we have Fallbrook and Bonsall. Okay, and then we start headed down south. So Poway, Rancho Bernardo, Carlsbad, Solana Beach, Del Mar, Encinitas, Leucadia. You know, yeah, I mentioned that. So it's the 12 most northern cities, and it might be even 13.
Yeah. Could you narrow that down to a specific area if we needed to?
In moments, yeah. If you want to know a certain city, I'll give you a certain zip code.
Yeah.
So just tell me the zip code, and we can do that before you go. Yeah, it just takes a second. It's just another slide that I didn't prepare for today.
Oh.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this? What's happening here?
Is this part of stagflation? I'm just curious what he was talking about. What
Is it-
stagflation is this part
Well,
of it?
I'll let him
Well,
explain.
stagflation is a term from the 80s where Jimmy Carter was president, if you remember, and the Fed raised the rates to almost unbelievable numbers, trying to stop inflation, and it stagnated the market, and we ended up in a horrible situation. And Ronald Reagan stepped in and did Reaganomics,
Yeah.
and that was the whole thing. I mean, that's history. I was in high school in the
Yeah, and I
graduated
had
in
a-
84, so
I had a mohawk and wore a leather jacket. So
I got the mohawk. I got the jacket.
it was a long time, but that's not what we're dealing with here.
No, it's not. The interest rates aren't at 18%,
Right.
except for credit cards,
So
which are
that
at
could
28%.
happen again?
What?
Like that could happen again? Where it goes
Well, if
up
the
and
Fed
up?
was stupid, they could
It
do
depends
it.
on who's in charge.
But they've got history behind them, so they know what not to do. Take
Yeah.
it to a certain level.
And it depends on who's
It's
in the
how much
steering wheel.
pain you can survive is what it is.
All right.
Sorry, I didn't.
No worries, no, I appreciate all the extras. This is great. This is from the NAR. I'm one of the chief economists there. Super resilient. Right now, properties are receiving approximately 3 offers for each listing. Right? 3 offers is very standard right now. 2 years ago, you had your house for sale. Michelle and I would be dealing with 20 offers, 25 offers, 40 offers.
That was because everyone wanted a home during COVID. They stopped.
Oh,
They
yeah.
didn't want to live. They didn't want to live in their apartments anymore.
Right.
They wanted a home.
They wanted their own space. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, but still looking strong for there, selling the house. Now, people often ask, some people are like, the market's going to crash. Is the market going to crash? When is the crash? Well, I don't see how it's actually going to crash. So check this out. Americans sitting on tremendous equity. Almost 70% have their mortgage paid off or have more than 50% equity. Right? That's why the market won't crash. Who remembers 08, 09? What happened was, with all those loans that they were giving, they would loan money to someone with 0 down that had a 540 FICO and didn't have to verify income, and they would give you the money. They'd loan you $500,000-600,000. And when the prices changed, and people are realizing now they're in an investment that they are losing money left and right, people literally left their homes, right? They left their homes. There was no equity. You could get in for 0 down. You could get in for 5%, 3% down. So right now, it's just really nice to know that in our country, most people either have it paid off or own at least half. So people with less than 50% equities in the green, but more than 50% and own it free and clear, it's most of the country, right? So we're strong in our market. For the market to change, normally, let me tell you, for the market to change, the inventory would have to raise dramatically. So we have about 1.8 months supply. Now, for it to get where there is 6 to 7 months supply of homes, at the rate we're not growing the inventory, it could take 3, 4, 5 years before if it started now. If it started, the inventory started growing and things were changing, it would take 5 years to get to a normal level. Okay. This is kind of cool. This is from CoreLogic. The average homeowner has more than 274 in equity, and which during the pandemic they only had 182. North County prices. This is the median sales price. This goes back to 2008. Median sales price was a little over 400,000. It dropped down to 220 median price in 2009, 2010. It came really low, started doing its thing. We started seeing growth in 2013. It started pointing upward, and then here we are today. Median sales price in North County is over 800,000. So you can see the trend up. Prices are going to continue to go up. Anything like in some of the nicer cities in San Diego, things closer to the water, closer to the beach, I can tell you that things along this coastline here, prices will never go backwards. They'll never go back. You won't be able to buy beachfront for under $1 million ever. Questions on this? Who's owned a home? Who bought their home in one of these years, 16, 17? What year did you guys buy?
The current home run?
Yeah.
2016.
16? Yeah, right here. And you've enjoyed this the entire time? It's nice.
Yeah, except for the taxes that go along with it. But they trickle up a little.
Hey, quit bursting our bubble. We're not talking about taxes. No, we are going to talk about
I'm talking about property tax.
Yeah, no, I
And
get that.
that is something you have to.
All right, so California Association of Realtors, our governing body, has forecasted significant increase in home sales next year, an increase of 23%. We'll see 23% more sales next year, and price growth should go up, continue to go up another 6% in 2024. So those of you buying property right now, the good news is that your home is going to continue to increase in value. Could you have bought it cheaper years ago? Well, of course, but that wasn't what was going on. But now that it's nice to know that when you buy, it's going to continue to go up, versus like when you bought your new car, and as soon as you drove it off the lot, the price went down 40%, 20 to 25%. Okay, good. And then that would bring our median price to $860 here in North County. See, but you know the problem with this, guys and gals, it's fun if we own a home and we can afford this and so forth, but what it means is eventually regular people won't be able to buy property. Do you know what I mean? Hardworking people, we won't be able to buy a home. Not around here anyway. We'll have to take you out to Emmett or Baker or Barstow, right? That's no fun. Anybody here from Emmett? It's much more affordable. All right, so when it comes to selling your property, the good news is it's not really complicated right now if you're willing to cooperate in certain ways. So preparing for the market, cleanup, any minor repairs, perhaps staging and having our photography done, we'll need a week for that in selling your home. Like how long will it take, Ron, if we want to sell our home? We'll need a week to prepare, okay, probably that, depending on how many repairs you have to do. Market time, average market time in North County right now for a home priced correctly, 24 days. 24 days, okay? Average market time, 24. In 2009, I had, like 32 active listings at one time. Nothing was selling. Average market time, 190 days. Do you remember in 2009, I have a picture, Linda, in my garage. It's a newspaper of the front page of the Union Tribune. Front page of the Union Tribune showed a house near downtown San Diego in a neighborhood down there. And it was a street that kind of sloped down and it kind of dipped way down, and they took this shot where almost every single house on the street had a for sale sign in it. Every single house. For sale, for sale, for sale, for sale. All the way down the street, all the way down. Different market, different times.
Okay. I don't even think the Union Tribune is still there.
Are they not? Yeah, I don't read the
They
papers.
used to sell the papers right on the corners with the homeless.
Yeah.
That's how they helped them. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I don't see those guys out there anymore.
No, I haven't either.
They're living for free down in the gully.
So escrow time right now, 30, 34 days is pretty standard. If you have a loan, if the buyer's paying cash or if you're paying cash, you know, we can close the deal in just a couple of weeks. So ultimately, you know, it's about a 2-month process right now if you're willing to price the home at the right price and do the things needed to get it ready. All right? Questions on that? That's kind of important. All right, so how do we get, now you guys all have a notepad. I'm going to ask you to take some notes, okay, everybody, please. So how do we get the most for your property? What can you do? What has to happen so that you get the most out of your property? All right, so let's write down number 1. Write down price it correctly, ... and be open to adjustments. Price it correctly and be open to adjustments. Well, Ron, what is correctly? What you say? No. You'll ultimately choose your asking price. We're going to show you the data and the numbers and help guide you to the right price, but it's ultimately your decision, and you have total control when you're doing that. So what I mean by price it correctly, let's use the term fair market value. Fair market value. A home's value is determined in the industry, and we're looking for what it would be fair market value for a home. It's based on the recent sales in the area. Does everyone understand that? The recent sales in the area help determine the value of your home. So who's looking at the value? Well, the buyers are, the agents are, the appraiser is, the bank is, the loan officer, the funder, all the important people involved in the transaction want to make sure that your home is, that if they're loaning on the home, that it's worth what they're loaning. So when we're selling your house, I have to get it past the buyer's agent, past the buyer. I have to get the appraiser to appraise it, and I have to get the bank to loan on it. Now, if I'm just going to use numbers, if you wanted $1 million and we sold it for $1 million, but our highest comp is $800,000, then how do I get the appraiser to appraise it for $1 million? How do I get the bank to loan $1 million when it only comps out with the comparable sales at 800? So when we say price it correctly, we'll help you with that, determine what price. When you price it correctly in today's market, we typically get a lot of interest, which will drive the price up. You guys get that? On
What
properties.
results do you get when you have it priced right?
Well, it sells within a week when you have it priced correctly. We get lots of showings, we get offers, we get immediate attention, we get people calling us on, constantly about the property when we've priced it right. So, for instance, and it's not a guessing game, but we are estimating. We're trying to get you the most, but we also have to get it to sell at the same time. Okay, so we noticed that if we put a house on the market and in the first week or 10 days we're getting showings but no offers, then I can tell you the rule of thumb is we're probably 5% overpriced. If we put the house on the market and it's not getting very many or little to no showings, it's a 10% price improvement more than likely. Okay? That's the results of just what we do.
Ron,
Yes?
question for you. So if you put most of the cash down to the bank, let's say hypothetically somebody's asking $1 million for the house and it's only worth $800,000, but if you put $500,000 down, does the bank really care? The bank probably says, I don't care.
Good question.
Yeah.
We had a lot of that happen in 2021.
Yeah, we did.
In 2020, people didn't over ask and homes wouldn't appraise. So what the lender will do is we'll base the loan on the appraised value, not the purchase price. So exactly what you said. If somebody's putting a lot of money down, their loan to the value will just increase. Instead of like a 30 or 40% loan to value, now they're at 70. The bank doesn't care, you still have 30% equity. They're gonna base the pricing and the underwrite off of the appraised value.
What percent do they need down for that to occur? Like how much down do they need?
That's a good question. So depending on the program, so if the loan is like a conventional loan, we'll lend as little as 5% up to 977 loan size. So you could literally come in quite low if a bar is putting 50% down. And those are conversations I have with the buyers too. When they were having to offer a little bit more, not sure what it was going to come in at, we would look at that and say, look, this is how your pricing changes if it appraised 50 grand low or 100 grand low. Do you still want to go in? With a lot of people were going in without appraisal contingencies, you guys, like in 2021. So if the appraisal didn't appraise, they couldn't go back and negotiate. So they needed to know ahead of time, what would happen to their loan if that were to occur. They still have a loan contingency in place, so they were protected if it didn't qualify. But that's what the bank will do. And you're right, they don't care. As long as there's 5% equity and the borrower still qualifies up to that 977. If you're talking a $2 million loan, they want 20% equity.
Right.
So it's different.
So if you have more, you have to be really careful then.
Right.
The buyer, be careful. because-
Buyer, be careful, exactly. And you can do as little as 3.5 on
Good
FHA.
question.
Very good question.
All right, so we're talking about getting the most for your house, right? Getting the best results on the sale. Write down fix and repair any needed items. Let's do this in advance. Anything you know that isn't working, the light socket, the rain gutter leaks, drips, whatever. Anything that you notice doesn't function right, I would recommend that you get all those things fixed ahead of time because you're trying to get top dollar for the property. We don't want to say we want top dollar, but all this stuff doesn't work. Do you get that? Has anyone viewed or anyone ever purchased a new construction home before? New construction? When you buy new construction, you are paying top dollar, and they will deliver the house in perfect condition. Michelle and I bought 3. We walk around with a roll of blue tape, and we're like, oh, there's a mark here. This, fix this. I don't like that. I don't like this. And we walk around, and they make it perfect, but not when we're buying a resale. So, but the closer you can get to your house, to it in its best condition as far as cleanliness, everything functioning, those kind of things, that really helps us get more money. Decluttering, where it's maybe looks minimal what you have in your house, the bric-a-brac, the little things that we have in the house. Depersonalize the house, and for the buyers to be able to see their own things in the house. We want to take down your personal photos, take down things like that have to do with you, all of your awards and those types of things. Depersonalize, okay? To get the most money, you want to help us make it easy to show. Easy to show, so that I can get as many people in your house as possible. Make it easy to show, meaning, let us come in. Have the house ready before you leave for work, so that if we do have a showing, that it's going to be fine. If we have animals, let's find something that we can do with the animals, contain them, so that we can have a wonderful showing for the buyers. But we want to make it easy to show. I wrote down deep cleaning. May be the case in some of the houses. The corners, the things that you don't normally go through, you really want to do a good job with this. Okay, we're asking for top dollar. I wrote down staging. Staging is when we would help you hire a company who, if your house, if your furniture isn't great, or you have an empty room, or you don't have a lot of furniture, we can have a staging company come in, and you'll rent their furniture for a couple of weeks. They come in and they put it in the house. It looks gorgeous for the photographs. It looks gorgeous for the first couple of weeks while the furniture's in there, and then we generally put your house under contract, and then they'll take all that furniture back. And we rent it temporarily, staging.
Is staging expensive?
Is it expensive? You could stage an entire house for a couple $1,000.
No,
Like a month? Or,
about 4,000 to 5,000 depending on the size.
and that's per month? Or like
That's just for the flat fee of it, of
all
borrowing it.
until it sells?
Well, no, it just depends on what we work out. We can work out that we leave it there so that it's there for all the showings. Some people, they don't want to pay that expense, so they'll rent it for the photographs, and then all the furniture's moved out, and when people come, it's empty. So you'll see that sometimes that they house all the furniture in, okay? There's also virtual staging, where they don't have to physically put anything. The photographer can literally put virtual furniture in your empty room and make it look like a model home.
Do you guys know somebody who does that?
Oh yeah, we help you with all of
So, what would you prefer though? Because I know when I see the homes, if I see it staged, in person, I want that home to be seen. But so would it be better to go that route? Or is it?
Probably, right? Probably, but it becomes an affordability thing for the seller and how much are they willing to do in that. Some don't want to do any staging at all, and we'll use, that's fine. A vacant home is great, right? Yeah, Michelle tries hard, she puts in her 2 cents. Good questions, thank you. I wrote, again, I'm going to write again, I wrote respond quickly to our requests. Respond quickly to our requests as your listing agent. We have someone wants to see it. I have to ask you a question about the property. A buyer's asking me. So your fast response to when we need something or need information or need a showing, Respond quickly. That'll help us get you more money. Okay? And I'm reiterating, it must be clean. Okay? Negative smells, negative odors equal less money. Okay, raise your hand if you're a female. Okay. How many seconds does it take for you to walk into a house before you're like, nope, like that odor is not happening? Like, how many seconds does it take?
Less than one.
Less than 1 second. You're like, nope, not for me, right? So, and that could be like,
So aromatherapy and everything.
well, or neutral, or a little Febreze or something, but
Clean the carpets.
clean the carpets, clean the house. It'll be much better, right? But odors and things like that. No, when you're this. Sometimes sellers though, they're like, hey, this is my house. This is where I live. I'm a real person, and this is my normal lifestyle and all that. And that's fine. I'm not judging how you live. I'm trying to help you get the most money. That's all. This isn't because I want you to live a different life. It's because I'm trying to help you get this dollar amount.
Ron, if,
Yes.
like, if our house does smell, would you tell us?
Yes. I will.
I'm like, when, because we get used to it, maybe we don't notice it. And
No, you don't.
So you will be like, hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I
That's
normally.
usually after you sign the contract.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go in full throttle on that.
No, but honestly, I have to be honest with you. But what I think is a negative smell is just an opinion. But if you're coachable and you're open, we're just going to do all this temporarily while we sell the house, and then you can go back and it can smell any way you want it after that. Okay.
Oftentimes pet odors, like homeowners they're so used to
Oh, yeah.
the pet, smell, they don't notice it. So it's good to have somebody else come in and say, clean your litter box.
Pet odors, cooking foods that you've been cooking. Like if you're like heavy curry, might make it a little rough to show.
So like your Mexican place smell like taco that you're just not used to.
Well, yeah, just
Not good like that though.
I'll pay more.
Coming in your house.
I'll pay more. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's talk about this. Capital gains. Okay? So, capital gains is the profit that you make from selling your home. Thanks, Troy.
Yeah,
Take it easy.
absolutely.
Capital gains is the profit that you make when you sell your home. Okay? And it's taxed by both the state of California and by the feds. Okay? Now, and I'm going to go through a couple slides to explain this to you. California taxes all capital gains as regular income. So when you do your state filing, state of California sees it as regular income. And it will be filed according to your regular tax bracket and the percentage of tax that you pay according to who you are. Does everyone understand that? State of California, it's added to your regular income for the year. Now on the federal level, gains can either be considered short-term or long-term. So a short-term capital gains is where you make money when you sell the asset, but it's within a year of purchasing it. So if you're gonna sell it and maybe you're making $100,000 after 11 months, 10 months, that's fabulous. But you're going to pay the short-term capital gains. Okay, now, those gains are included in your ordinary income, and they're taxed just like your tax bracket with the feds. It's included as normal income. Okay. Long-term capital gains are profits made from the sale after you've owned it for a full year. Then it becomes long-term capital gains, and then those gains are taxed according to this. Okay, so short-term is going to be just normal income, and I don't even, what do we pay in taxes? 35, 37% or something like that. That would just be included in that rate. Okay, but if I have long-term capital gains, here's how it's done. So for single filers, we have if you make 0 to 41,000, you won't pay any tax. But if you make from 41 to this number, you'll pay a 15% rate, and from that number above, it's a 20% rate if you're a single filer. Now, if you're married filing jointly, they give you a little more. You can make up to 83,000 without paying, and anywhere up to $500,000 at 15%, and over that $500,000 mark, it's going to be at 20%.
Ron, is that regardless if it's owner-occupied or investment?
Say it again.
Is that rate? Does that rate apply regardless of whether it's owner-occupied or investment?
No, that would be your primary residence. Yeah, this is for primary residence when you sell it. when you sell your investments, if you do a 1031, we can defer it and delay it out. But if you sell it outright and are done, you're going to pay tax. Okay, good. Does everyone understand his question? He asked if I sell my income property, is this the same as when I sell my personal residence? And no, this is when you sell your personal residence. Okay. But Ron, I heard there was some tax break or something for me, right? Tax break, yes. Okay. So the IRS and the Franchise Tax Board of California provide capital gains tax break for sellers who meet certain conditions. Okay. Now the maximum amount of capital gains can be excluded is $250,000 for a single filer or $500,000 for married couples filing jointly. All right, so you sell your home and you're a married couple and you're profiting, say, $300,000 on the sale of your house, you don't pay capital gains tax on it at all. Okay, if it's over $500,000, then this chart would apply. So let's say you sold it and you made $525,000. Would you have to pay tax? And you were married. Would you have to pay tax? No, you wouldn't have to pay tax unless the money you made over the 500 was 0 to 83. I don't have to pay any. Right? Questions? It's a little confusing. Everybody understand? Am I saying it right?
I think your statement, you said 500, if you made 525,000.
Yeah.
So you're $25,000 over.
You get 500 for your
Okay, so
exemption.
you take off the 500 and then the 25 goes back to the chart.
Correct. Yeah. 25.
So if you made $1 million off the sale of your home, you'd end up paying 20% on the second half.
It might fit in here depending on that
15.
exact number, but it would, yeah. You got it.
You can always adjust the selling price down
Yeah.
to go into a lower tax bracket. Sometimes you need to manipulate the numbers.
Well, we do that sometimes when we list the house and what we sell it for. You know. Now here's the thing though. It's kind of funny to me because I notice people they like backpedal. I have to pay capital gains tax. Well, maybe we shouldn't sell. Okay, well, it's kind of like saying I don't want to win the lottery because I'm going to have to pay taxes. So I'm not going to play.
You don't want to win the lottery because it ruins your life.
Right. You guys get that point though? Like you're going to have to pay taxes on the money you win. Does everybody understand that? We win $1 billion, you'll probably have to pay $550 million in tax. Okay, and you'll get $450. Is that going to stop you from playing? I hope not. Okay. If you do that kind of thing. All right. So we've done that. Okay. So everyone understand what you get as single and?
But that's on the Fed level. That's not on the. That's on the state. You still have to pay the state tax no matter what.
No. On the state does.
Oh, is the FTB?
The state follows the chart as well.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, the state follows the chart as well. Okay, good. But what are the qualifications? Okay, check it out. You have to have lived in the home for 2 years within the 5 years period before you sell it. You have to be in it 2 years somewhere in that window. Okay? You didn't acquire the home through a 1031 exchange for investments within the last 5 years. And then you haven't used this exclusion on any other home in the last 2 years. Okay? If that's the case, then the exemption applies to you. All right? So as far as selling a home, are there any other unanswered concerns, questions, comments, or hallucinations on selling a home?
So, is it best to wait a year then to sell a home after we buy it? Because it seems like it just.
For tax purposes,
Yeah.
hang on to it. If you're selling the first year, you're really susceptible to paying the most tax possible. Holding on to a year is going to change it dramatically for you.
It's 2 years.
Sorry, 2 years. Yes. Everybody say Ron. We got it all figured out. All right. Let's move on. Okay, let's move on. Yep, buyer's side. Who's looking to buy a home, or who's in the middle of buying a home? Wanting to buy a home?
Any good people with good prices out there?
Yeah.
That's a relative question. It's location. Sorry to tell you that.
Okay.
Encinitas, one price. Fallbrook, another price.
Yeah, exactly. All right, good.
Encinitas,
So-
one view, Fallbrook, another.
Let's just look at home ownership. Who owns property right now? Who owns property? Okay, good. So for us, it's a good reminder. What are the top reasons? Why do we want to make this jump into home ownership? Why do we not want to continue renting? Well, think about, the loved ones and how their life will be in the future when you own the house versus living in an apartment or someone else's home. The accomplishment of becoming a homeowner, the accomplishment of making that big decision, of going through that long process of saving your money and curtailing your life in certain ways so that you could become a homeowner. It's a big accomplishment. The comfort of it, where you have your own home now, your own place to do what you want to do, and you don't have to get permission to do things that you want to do in the house. The financial investment side of it is like the most exciting for us to help you build your wealth. And you're not going to find many wealthy people that don't own property. It kind of goes hand in hand. And for most of us, that at least the group that we know, the wealth is built through home ownership, and it starts with your first house, you getting into your first house. Okay, the stability of that I've locked down my rate, I know what my payment's going to be every month. The landlord can't raise it. They can't, someone else isn't going to decide how much I pay. The stability, personal expression, you get to do what you want to your own house. You get to make it your own. The privacy of home ownership is great. Like after you own a home, like going back to renting is like, oh no, I lose so much, in that situation. But sometimes it's necessary. And then the community, like look at these guys, don't they look happy? Right? We have other friends, the neighbors see you differently now when you own the home, and that we're all taking care of the neighborhood and taking care of our investments together, and the beauty of it. So lots of reasons. A couple questions to ask yourself when you're considering buying a home. Where do you think prices are going? Because the thing is that what I hear from buyers all the time is, oh, we're going to wait till prices come back down. Oh. Yeah, well, how old are you now? Okay, so look, here's the predictions. Here's the predictions from the third quarter. So in 2023, prices increased 3.3. They're predicting next year prices will go up. This is nationwide. Okay, prices will go up. 2.25. They're going to continue to go up the year after that as well, and again the year after that. These are all increases on top of each other. So repeat after me, Ron. I see prices are going up. Say it. Okay, I want to make sure you get it, right? Waiting until prices come down. It's like, how many years are you going to have to wait? I don't think it's ever going to happen the way we've seen it before. If you look at prices, they go up and they come down. Then they go up and it comes down. Then it goes up and it comes down. Right? But overall, it goes up. So prices are going up.
The good thing about that is, for me, is I can get 5.5%, so I can keep up with you guys for a while.
Yeah. Okay, good.
You know what I'm saying?
Say it loud.
You can make 5.5% on the treasury to keep pace, so we can.
So you can pay for the price increase.
Right.
No, I don't want it to go forever, but at least it's not. It used to be 0.1%, and everything was going up 5%.
Sure. So the other thing is when you're buying the house, look at it this way. You're going to be buying, and your investment is going to be increasing in value for the next several years, if not for completely. So it just gives you peace of mind that I should do it before it gets any worse or any harder to go, any harder to buy. Where are rates headed? Okay, here's some projections. Throughout 2024. Right now, I think yesterday it was on a 30-year fix. It was 7.35 yesterday. I think I saw 7.37, and on a 30-year it was 6.77 on the FHA 30-year.
FHA was 6.7.
Yeah, 6.770. Yeah, so right around that. So this right here, guys, these numbers. Just understand, this is the new norm. This is the way it's going to be for a while, right in this area here. Okay, so if you're waiting for prices to come down to 2.75 again, they're not. There's no way. Okay, there's no way. And now if I'm going to rent while I'm waiting for rates to come down, well, that's a whole other mistake as well, right? That we're going to talk about. And if you don't have to, we don't want you in that situation. Okay, good. What is the impact if as the mortgage rates change? And I just thought this was cool. And I'm just going to use an example. There's a lot of data on here, but if you look, like on an $800,000 loan, right? $800,000 loan. The difference between 6 and 7%, the difference is like $525 a month on your mortgage. Okay. So the difference is, so as they or in this area, and as they move, I just want you to see what the impact is. So the impact of 0.5% on an $800,000 loan is about $265. The income of half a percent. That's how it changes. Any thoughts on this?
Is that a 30-year?
This is based on 30 years, yeah. And this is based on the right. Okay, good. And you see, this is P&I. This is not taxes and insurance, but just principal and interest. Where rent's going? They're expected to increase. Well, we're past this here. We're up here now. But rents are increasing. Does everybody understand that? Rents are not going back. Rents are out of control. Some rents are unaffordable for many regular families right now. So renting, and if you want to talk about rent, I'd rather talk about you owning a property and someone else is renting it from you. That make sense? That would be a better decision. Okay, rather than that you continue down this path. Rents are increasing. Okay, well, Ron, we're going to wait till prices come down. Okay. Okay, nationwide, over the last 5 years, the Pacific states, Washington, Oregon, California, increased 49% in price in 5 years. Prices went up 49%. On the East Coast, 59%. Look at Florida, the Southern Atlantic, the prices went up 68% in 5 years. 68%.
So we're the best, right?
Yeah. Now this is since 1991. Price change since 1991. California, 342% in the last, couple decades. 342%. Now, all of you adults, look at me. Who is ever? Well, you're right. Okay. Have you ever said to yourself in the last, several years, have you ever said to yourself, I should have bought that house?
Yes.
We should have bought it when we do it. Michelle and I do it all the time to a property on Carlsbad off the Tamarack. It was off the Tamarack, and we went and looked at it, and it was $700,000. And I was like, how dare them ask that much money for that house? I was like, that's outrageous. And now the house is 2.1, 2.4, right? And then
I asked the question, why did I sell that house?
Or why did I sell it? So, okay, good. But that's the thing. Guys, this is another one of those. We get complacent. We're like, I'll just wait and see what happens. And we never take action. And then pretty soon, this is going to be one of those times where you're like, I should have bought in 23 or 24. I should have done it. Because now prices have continued by, I'll be back here in 5 years going, now look at the prices. Right, Nora? Remember, you should have done what I said. Okay.
So I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the house I was looking at 5 years ago was like a little over 1.4 million. Now it's worth like 2.1. So how is it going to keep going up like that? And so who do we listen to? People are just some agents like just wait, and then we have one saying no, like buying now. Like how are you?
So Norma, I appreciate that, and because everyone wants to share their opinion, and it's all different. But what I'm not giving you my opinion. I'm giving you the data so that you can make your own opinion. Okay, the prices are going up, and this is the evidence to show it, and it will continue. The inventory level, the prices now, the rates now, they'll continue to do that. So what I would suggest is when people want to give you their advice of what to do, you need to ask a question. Is that based on data? And can you show me that data? Well, you should wait, Nora. Well, based on what? Well, I just think you should.
So is this 2.1 house ever going to go back down even just a little bit?
Yours?
Yeah.
No way. Okay, not that one. Good questions. Others? Okay. All right, let's go on to the next. We're getting close. This is kind of like what we said a minute ago. Homeownership's the catalyst for building wealth. For people of all walks of life, a monthly mortgage payment is sometimes considered a forced savings account for people, where you're building your equity, you're building your future, you're building your wealth by making the monthly payments. Okay, and you'll notice that homeowners build a net worth 40 times higher than that of a renter. 40 times higher. Okay, what he said was very important because I wish I hadn't sold those houses or that house. And Michelle and I learned later, we should have kept every house we've ever bought. Because to build, and then buy that house, put tenants in there, buy the next one, and then keep moving forward that way, but always keeping these assets because, well, like all of us, we didn't do it, we sold it, we wanted the money and put it over here, and the next thing you know, and then here's the push comes to shove, and then here we are. I shoulda, woulda, coulda. Right? Shoulda, woulda, coulda. This is one of those times. Okay. So. All right, good. How do we come? I think we have an affordability issue for a lot of people, right? Like Riley would like to buy her first home for her and my grandson River, but like trying to buy a house in Oceanside for a single mom, is next to impossible. Okay, but how can we make things more affordable? Well, one thing is for you is maybe expand your search area for what you're looking for. Meaning, you wanted an acre by the beach. Okay, well, maybe you can't have that, but we can move you to Fallbrook, or we can move you to Escondido, or maybe we can go out further where price is a little more affordable, or other areas, Murrieta, Temecula, are a little more affordable than the coast. But just being open to get my first home, could I change my life, or maybe relocate my job, in order to buy a house in an affordable area, instead of just renting at the high rents in the, like downtown Oceanside. Okay? If you can work remotely, so many people during COVID started working remotely, and now that affords you the possibility to move outside of where you live in order to afford it. Summer can speak to this. There's 2,000 down payment assistance programs in the U.S. right now, okay, that can help people get started on buying homes, buying their first home, or buying the next home, okay? And then I also wrote down, for a lot of you, and what's super popular right now is that you could buy a property, you're right, buy a property that had rental income opportunities on it. Buy a property that had rental income on it. Maybe you had a guest house, maybe you have an ADU, an additional dwelling unit on the property that you could rent out. Michelle and I are seeing all kinds of things in the market right now where people they live in the main house, they have someone renting out the small house, and they have another family living in an RV, a fifth wheel RV, down on the bottom of the property. And that's their house, and they have all this rental income. So that can counterbalance what your payment is with the rental income. And with rental income, does that help us with qualifying?
Yeah, so there's been some guideline changes. Specifically, if you're buying a single family with an ADU, that's still considered a one-unit property, and you used to never be able to use the ADU rental income. So in some cases we can now on conventional, and FHA just last week agreed to do it too. Yeah. So it's huge. But if you buy a 2-unit or a 3-unit or a 4-unit, yes, we'll use the rental income to help you.
Right, so maybe for someone like who's, and I'll let you answer her questions, but maybe for someone who's younger and you're just getting started, well, maybe we could help you buy a duplex, right? 2 units connected, you live in one, you rent out the other side, and we'll use that income so that you qualify. Martin, go ahead.
Question with a property with the ADU, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 3-bedroom, 2-bath with an ADU appraisal, is that a lot more expensive?
You mean the cost of the appraisal, or what it would appraise at?
Value of the property.
So appraisers, I've seen different things when it's an ADU as opposed to not being included as a square footage. So they base it on comps that also have ADUs. So it's hard to answer that question. Yeah. But generally, it's hard to answer the question. Honestly, there's so many different areas.
Let's work on it after.
Yeah, give me the address, and I'll talk to an appraiser for you. That's my answer.
So what about the property taxes? Like if we build it after, does that raise the taxes?
It will.
For the house?
Yeah. Those will be assessed into the property's value now, and your taxes will go up. Was there another one? Agnes, did you have a question? No? Okay. Okay, good. Moving right along. Okay, pre-approved. Buying a house. The importance of getting pre-approved as you start the process. Okay. What is pre-approval? It's the bank giving you, based on your financial situation, it's the bank giving you an amount they will loan you and at what rate they'll loan it to you. It's kind of their they'll promise in advance that, based on their looking at your financials and what you're doing, you qualify for this amount of a loan, and they'll do it at this rate, and here are the terms. So they give us a pre-approval letter from a qualified lender. Okay, and then and the importance of that is that we know how much you can buy, we know what you can afford, you know what you can afford, and we know what price range to be looking at. Okay, that all comes from the pre-approval from the lender. Just because you bought a $300,000 house before doesn't mean you necessarily are going to afford what you want now. So we want to make sure that you understand what the monthly payments will be, what the terms are, so we get you pre-approved with the lender first. Okay, how does it work? It's simple. You have a conversation with Summer or another lender, someone like Summer. You have a conversation, you fill out the credit app to them, they review your financial records, you provide your documentation to her, and then she will issue promptly a letter of pre-approval so that we can take that with you and we can all go out and go look for your house with that letter as ammunition. Okay? It shows that you're a serious buyer. Okay, and it's even more than that in today's market. Before, we used to try to get these just to show how strong of a buyer you were. I would send this over to the sellers, but now the sellers require it before they even let you in the house. They're not interested in having tire kickers and looky-loos in the house, so most of them are asking us, they want to see a pre-approval letter. If you're getting a loan, if you're paying cash, they want to see your proof of funds in your account that you are a serious buyer before they even will allow us to schedule a showing. Okay, so it's super important as far as you starting the process. Are there any questions on how to get the pre-approval? It could come from your bank, it could come from a lender like Summer, which I would highly recommend, or anyone that you've used in the past will issue those to you. All right, good. All right, so you gave Summer all of your information. You're applied for a home loan. Some things to avoid after applying for a mortgage. Don't change your bank accounts after you've applied for a mortgage. The credit is critical. We don't want to see any changes or anything weird that the banks don't. So don't go changing bank accounts during your application process. Don't apply for new credit cards during your application process. Don't do anything credit-wise. Don't put cash in the bank until you speak with Summer. Like someone gave you 50 grand, you're going to put it in your checking account? No. That'll set off a red flag. Talk to the lender first, okay? Don't co-sign loans for anybody. That means there's a credit check on your history now. And then don't make any large purchases. Don't make any large purchases.
What's considered large? So like a washing machine?
Appliances where you're charging or credit. Don't go buy anything on credit. Cash is all fine, but don't.
Anything over like 1,000?
Cash is all fine, but don't go buy anything on credit. That's the main point. So in my second year of real estate, I was so excited. I had this really great sale, and I was helping the buyer, and we were in escrow, and I'm at the office on a Saturday, and he calls me, "Hey, Ron, hey, man, come outside." I'm like, okay. And I walk outside of my office, and he's sitting out there with the biggest smile in his convertible red Corvette. And he bought this car, and at the time that car was like 50 grand, I think. That was so many years ago. And it threw off all of his numbers, and he didn't qualify for the loan, and we had to cancel the escrow. Because he went out and bought that car. He's like, I didn't know. I knew I was, I didn't know. Okay, now you know. Don't do anything.
Talk to your loan officer.
Yeah, exactly. Talk to them first.
You might be able to buy the car. You just need to talk to your
All right, and then the last section for me today is I want to talk to you a little bit about tips for making your offer on when you make an offer on a home. Some tips, okay? Because look, Michelle and I and Anna and Riley and Kason, when we go out and look for your house, we're taking you into the battlefield. And we got to make sure you're prepared. Got to make sure you're prepared, and that we want to make sure that you look as good as possible to the sellers. Does that make sense, everyone? We want you to look as good as possible to the sellers on every level so that they pick you. So let's talk about the simple things to win, to have the winning offer. Okay? Lean on us. Lean on us in the beginning to help you with this. An example. You have a house that you're like, I like that house. First thing Michelle's going to do is get on the phone with the listing agent and find out all the stuff. Tell me everything. Tell me about the sellers. What's their motivation? How motivated are they? Have they had any offers? Do they have anything now? How many people are looking? What number would they accept for you to get an offer accepted? What number would they take? Would they come down on their price? We're going to get in there and find out and go head to head with the listing agent for you, okay, so that we can make sure we write the best offer possible. We're going to include your pre-approved letter, right? Say yes.
Yes.
Say yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Proof of funds included with your bank statement. So do we need proof of funds for our down payment?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to get a loan, so I need my pre-approval letter for my loan, and then I'm going to put $50,000 down, so I need to provide that to Michelle and Ron. I need to show the $50,000 is in my account and that I have it, okay? So we have to have all that before, or as we go out looking at houses. We often have to send that over before our showing appointment. When it comes time to write the offer, well, ultimately you're buying the home and you're going to come up with the number that you want to offer. We like to guide you with that so that you get the house. But your offer price, see, here's the thing. Buyers come into this situation and they're not thinking about, like, I'm buying a home, I'm going to live there for 10 years, we're going to raise our family, we're going to enjoy our life here. They're like, okay, now that I'm buying a home, I got to get a deal. And no matter what the sellers are asking, some buyers are just going to come in lower automatically, whether the sellers have priced it correctly or not. So what we help you do is we look at this house, we go in the MLS, we look at all the sales in the area recently, and we find out, well, I can tell you the seller's about 4% overpriced based on comps. I can tell you the seller he's priced accurately. Or I can tell you, you know what, they're being aggressive and they price their home under market value, so it's a good buy at asking price. We're going to figure that out for you, but I want your reasons for moving to be bigger than trying to get a deal. Does that make sense? Because when you try to get a deal, guess what the outcome is in 2023? They accept someone else's offer. Or they just reject your offer entirely. Okay? Especially if they know they've priced it right. All right.
Well, why don't you touch just a little bit on how fast the market is moving based upon inventory? Because that right now is how we have to price.
Okay, good. So I showed you guys in North County the average days on market is 24. That's average. The good houses, clean, renovated, remodeled, fairly new, updated, have all these great features.
Stage.
Those don't take those things don't take 24 days to sell. They sell in a few days, 3 days, 4 days. So it's important that when you go out and you find one and you're pretty sure that you take action. Like the days where we would go, well, okay, thanks, real estate agent. Michelle and I are going to take the weekend and go talk about it now, or we'll let you know next week. It probably may not be there next week, especially if it's a good one. Okay.
Well, some houses that are even just coming soon, and you're trying to go view them, they'll already have offers before.
Yeah, so you'll notice in the market right now we have a status, it's coming soon. It's not actually available for sale, but the agent's letting everybody know it's coming. Maybe we're just painting or just getting ready first. It's coming in a few days. It will sell before it even comes to the market. An agent just submitted an offer to them right away. You know what I mean? And they're like, that's perfect, we'll take it. Done. Okay? So we want to make sure that we write the offer based on your needs, I ask you, when you say, Ron, what should I write the offer? I say, well, how long do you see yourself living in this home? I say, how many homes have you found that were suitable the way this one was? How long did it take you to find this house? And are you willing to let someone else get it if you don't? So those are things you have to ask yourself. Okay? Earnest money deposit has a big factor in your offer getting accepted. Your earnest money is where you show in good faith along with your offer. We're going to submit, depending on the price of the home, we'll submit an earnest money that will get deposited into escrow, and it shows your seriousness in purchasing the home. So a healthy, substantial earnest money deposit is going to be advised in order to get your offer accepted. And then lastly, the contingency periods. A contingency, I'll give you an example. There's a few of them in a real estate transaction. One of them is the appraisal contingency. So we'll write an offer for you, and if you're getting a loan, we'll put in there an appraisal contingency which says that you're committed to buying the house unless the appraisal doesn't come in where it's supposed to, then you're not committed at that point. You guys get that? You have an inspection period of, say, 10, 15 days. where it's a contingency where you're allowed to do all your inspections and then you can cancel the escrow based on your findings, based on the home inspection, based on something else that you found, we can get out, okay? So what happens is for instance, the inspection contingency is a major one. So if it's say 10, 15, 17 days, well that means, and then you still have the ability to get out of the deal within that time, that means the sellers are taking a risk. They may sell you the house, open escrow, and then 17 days later you take off, and then they've wasted 3 weeks. They didn't have their house on the market. So having shorter contingency periods, you know, we can get the inspector out there fairly quickly. We don't need 10 days. We don't need 15 days. We try to get them down to 6 or 7 days and get it done quickly. That makes your offer more attractive to the seller. The risk they have is less now. Questions? All right, good. So we got a little taste. So I talked to you about buying. I talked to you about selling. And then we heard a little bit from Summer, but I'm going to ask Summer to come up here, and she's got some slides that she wants to go through. She's going to talk to us about rates and interest rates, and then he'll go after Summer, unless he needs to go now.
No, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Well, we just talked about inspections, so.
Okay, Ron, you did a very thorough job. Right there? Okay. Which way is it? This way, arrow? Okay. Okay, so Ron stole my thunder. He did a very, very thorough job. So I did have a lot of slides that basically corroborate a lot of what Ron said. So I'm just going to kind of wing it right now and talk to you guys about what I think is important after hearing his presentation. So my name is Summer Ramesh, and I'm a branch manager with Gem Mortgage here in Carlsbad. We are what you call a direct lender. We're a full-service direct lender, and what that means is we're actually a bank, which means we lend money. There's different types of lenders. There's brokers. They're what we call a middleman because they're not lending money. They're still approved with different banks that will lend you money, but it's not coming from the broker themselves. So one of the benefits with a broker is you can shop in different banks for the rates and things like that. But as a direct lender at Gem Mortgage, this is our list of investors. We operate almost like a broker, except I have the control of underwriting the file in-house. So I'm dealing with my own underwriters, the same appraisers I've worked with for 20 years that are local. And as Ron mentioned, an appraisal is so important, right? You want an accurate, well-done appraisal. So I can say that the appraisers we work with, they've all been working in the business for over 20 years. So I trust them all, they're very good. And having all these different investors, these are investors we're approved to bank our loans with. So every single one of them is on here for a reason. Like Chase is there, US Bank is there, Truist used to be SunTrust. You can see all the changes, formerly known as. A lot of changes in the banking world. But everyone's on there for a reason. Some are down payment assistance. Some are different programs that you may not even be familiar with that have kind of peeked their heads in the last 8-9 years, called non-QM loans. And those are loans that don't really fit the box anymore. So, for example, a self-employed borrower who writes a lot of stuff on their taxes and don't necessarily qualify on the tax returns, they can provide 12 months of bank statements and will underwrite based on deposits and some other guidelines. Won't bore you with them. But there's alternatives to fitting in the box. And those are called non-QM or alternative financing. We don't call it subprime, which is what happened in 2008 during that crash. There was a lot of stated loans, like Ron said, people aren't showing income, we don't know you have the ability to repay, contributed to the crash. So these are not like that, but the rates are a little higher and the fees are a little higher. So plan A is always to get our borrowers into what we call the prime loans, the QM loans, the conventional, the jumbo, the VA, the FHA, those type of loans. And these are all the loans that we have. We have a huge portfolio of loans. The only thing we really don't do is what you call private money or hard money. And Michelle and Ron have some good referrals. I have some contacts as well. So I'm proud of this list. This is why I choose to work at Gem Mortgage. I need to have options. Every single buyer that comes my way, we work really hard to maximize your buying power. Some borrowers have challenges and some don't. But as you mentioned, the affordability issues right now where the prices, rates, both went up, right? This doesn't normally happen, but post-COVID, lack of inventory, don't see it coming around anytime soon. Rates are where they are and prices are where they are. So we're trying very hard to qualify every single borrower and meet their goals. And by having a lot of different programs, we're able to do that. So I'm basically underwriting everything at one place. I'm not like sending it to one investor, let them pull credit, then send it to another one like a broker would. So I can broker, but we keep most things in-house. What do we have as the next slide?
So, question for
yeah.
you. So, meaning when somebody applies and you pull their credit,
Yes.
essentially you're only pulling it the one time.
Right. So we
Versus it. being
versus like
pulled-
sometimes if you're working with a broker when they submit the loan, because they're not the bank, right? They're a middleman. They're submitting the loan to a bank. Sometimes that bank won't take their credit report and they want to pull their own. And then you're getting multiple pulls.
hard inquiries.
And those would be hard inquiries. We have come out with a soft inquiry and a hard inquiry now. The soft inquiry is kind of a waste of time if you ask me. It's okay for conventional financing. I cannot use it to close your loan. It's almost just very preliminary. It saves us money, but I think if you're a serious buyer, we need a hard inquiry. It's good for 120 days. We won't pull it again. After 120 days, if you're still shopping, then you'll let me know. Should I re-pull the credit now and have you ready to go? Or you're not that high risk of a buyer. I'm not worried about the FICO changing. I'm not worried that you bought a car. You know, there's buyers that are out of control. So some of them we need to re-pull and know what they've been doing. But otherwise, we'll just hold that credit report till you find something you want to write an offer on. Then I should re-pull the credit because it's been expired. So we don't want to pull your credit all the time. There is a window, though, just so you guys know, while you're shopping, and that's like 30 to 45 days where you can have multiple lenders pull your credit inside of that window. There was a law back in the day that was what the CFPB and everybody thought was not right. People felt pigeonholed into their lender. Their lender would scare them, and it was true. If you got another hard inquiry, your FICO might drop, right? So they would feel like, oh, I can't go to another lender even though that lender might have a better rate for me. So they allow for shopping. That's the reason why you can have multiple credit pulls inside of 30 to 45 days where it really shouldn't affect your credit. It's counted as one inquiry. So when we pull credit, we're pulling it for mortgage. Every credit is pulled for different reasons. And a lot of people don't know that. So sometimes I have a buyer who's looking at their Credit Karma score, right? And it's like 800. Then I pull the credit and 750. They're like, why? Well, that wasn't, your Credit Karma score isn't for a mortgage. We have algorithms for mortgage pulls. You can pull credit for an auto, for student loans. So mortgages, everything's pulled for different reasons, and the inquiries show what that is. So just so you know, there are those changes to the credit. And we can do soft pulls for anyone who's interested, but that's only going to qualify you for conventional. A lot of times I'm pushing someone into an FHA, or I'm qualifying them both ways, so we want a hard credit pull. It is good for 120 days. So I was going to talk about how to win in this market, because what's my challenge every day? Qualifying a bunch of borrowers or not being able to qualify them and helping coach them to where they do get to qualify. So to speak to that, it's never too early to start getting pre-approved. It's never too early. You never know. I've had 800 FICO people, I pulled their credit, they got stuck with a collection from a doctor's office for $20 copay and their FICO's 680 from that one collection that's recent. Some people don't know that, so I would hate to like wait till you're like right there and you want to go buy a house and some surprises happen. So that gives us time to get that collection removed or fight it or do whatever we need to do.
But help them with that?
Yeah, so what I can do is I can pay for simulators. They're more accurate than the ones you guys see online. We pay for them specifically. And if I can improve your score by paying down a little debt or advising, okay, if you get this collection removed, if you can get a letter, we'll pay for the rapid rescore. And we can improve that score within 3 to 7 days. You don't have to wait the 30 plus days for all the bureaus to report. So we're happy to do that. Sometimes I see a credit score, I got the borrower qualifying. I'm a 700 FICO or 580 and they qualify fine, but I can get you a better rate if I were to get you up 20 points, and all you need to do is pay down a credit card $500. So we'll do all these things. I mean, we want you as our long-term clients, right? It's not just the one loan we're closing. We hope to do your family's loan and everybody else's loan. So how to win in this market? I can't even stress how important it is to be pre-approved. That's really one of the biggest things. And also is the teamwork. Gone are the days I send a pre-approval letter to someone and I go to the beach and then they call me and Ron goes, hey, we got our offer accepted. Let's get this going. And I'm like, yay. No. I'm writing a pre-approval letter every time you write an offer because I want it to have the most recent date. Sellers aren't stupid. They're looking at pre-approval letters and they don't want to see one that's 80 days old, 30 days old. They're wondering what's going on. So I always update the pre-approval letter specific to your offer. There's a strategy involved, right, Ron? Like, you don't want to sit there and show a seller that you're approved for $1 million if you're only writing an offer for $650. You may not want to do that.
Customize it every time we have
I
a
want to
house, so.
customize that letter every time you write the offer, and you'll have a strategy. If there's 20 offers on the house, we may go up and show them that you're qualified higher, because we don't want them to just take you out of the mix because they want to counter you 50 grand more and your letter doesn't say you can qualify. So there's different strategies and we're working very closely together. I've been in this business almost 22 years and I've never had to do this much work on every single borrower for like 6 months, a year, you know, however long it takes for you to find the house you want, which doesn't matter to us, you know. Actually, we end up liking talking to you and then we miss you when you're gone.
Summer,
yeah.
can you charge us every time you write the water?
No. There's no upfront fees to work with us at all. We don't even charge for the credit report. And those got really expensive, you guys. They're about $55, $60 a pull. They used to be 20, inflation. So no, there's no cost out of your pocket. It's your time. And so that's how we view it. When we have a client who's willing to give us all their financials, show us a full package, we're gonna do everything we can to put that loan through the process up front so that your pre-approval is accurate. My days, especially the last 6 months, I think we've closed 4 loans where the borrower was in escrow and the lender didn't qualify the client properly. They were about to lose their earnest money deposit or the house. And that's the pitfall, you guys. And you don't even know, and this isn't even to the borrower's fault. You know, they might have gone to a big bank where they get those automated pre-approvals. They fill out the application, they pull their credit, and they go, here's the letter. We've pre-qualified you, which means we pulled your credit, and we trust what you say. We trust you made $100,000 last year. And maybe the borrower did, but that's not necessarily how we are to calculate income on guidelines. We care how your income works, what's stable, what's not, what's commission, what's bonus. It's complicated. So, yes?
One question. How long would your underwriter
Take.
accept the pre-approval?
That's a good question. So generally pre-approvals, they'll say are good for 90 days. But I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I want you to understand a pre-approval is always conditional, right? So I'll send you a pre-approval letter today. You showed me you had $50,000 in the bank, and tomorrow your car breaks down, you have to fix it, you spent $5 grand, now you have 45. Or let's say you lost your job, which I don't even want to put that out there. But let's say you lost your job. That, just because that letter's in your hand and it says it's good for 90 days, you just changed the way you're pre-approved and what we were using in to qualify you. So it's kind of like a living, breathing thing. That's why I always want to update them. I always talk to the client, and you guys keep me updated. The communication has to be there. If you've got a reduction in pay for whatever reason, or you're going to change jobs. A job change, like we said, don't be changing jobs without talking to us. Most of the time, it's not fun, but it can be a good thing. You know, you might be getting a new job with a bigger salary, and I can close a loan as long as you're going to start that job within 60 days of closing and I verify it's a legitimate company and it's salary pay. But if you're going to change jobs and go from like a wage earner where you work for someone and decide, I'm just going to go out on my own and I'm going to start my business today, and look, I made a lot of money my first month, nobody's going to want to talk to you because you're self-employed and you don't have a history of being self-employed. So it's very, very hard to get a loan when you have not been self-employed at least 2 years. There are those alternative programs. They might talk to you at 1 year, but those are the kind of job changes we don't want you to make. And those are the, and you'll still have a pre-approval letter in your hands, guys. So you'll still see this pre-approval letter, think you're fine, but just don't go making any material changes without talking to the lender
So
first.
Summer, what would be a realistic, would you say that 45 days was probably safe? First question.
I mean, pre-approval letters are good for 90 days. I update them for you so they're current, and we get your current pay stubs, and we always keeping your file updated. But it's conditional, so yeah, I mean 45 days is safer. Anything shorter is great. But the underwriter's going to look at the file we submit. So let's say I get your pay stubs 30 days ago, and we don't have updated pay stubs. And let's say you made some big commissions since then. That's a new pay stub for my new file that the underwriter's going to see. And we're going to calculate your commission income to be averaged with those new commissions. So it's always changing in that way if you're that kind of income. If you're retired and your income doesn't really change, then it's a lot safer, Ron, because then the borrower's income's not changing, you know? And the credit report is the thing that's good for 120 days. After 120 days, there's a new credit report.
So that credit report, is it a rolling 45 days or is it
It's just one pool with the 3 bureaus, and it's good for 120 days. So the underwriter's going to underwrite off of that credit report, yes. And we do run the credit, depending on the type of loan we're doing, there is an automated underwriting system that spits out approvals. But we always say garbage in, garbage out. That's what you're getting sometimes on those online pre-quals. The borrower's putting in their income, it's going through the automated system. It's just good. It means you didn't have a BK in less than 2 years. It means your FICO meets the guideline. But the details are what's not being underwritten, and that's when files fall out.
What's the BK?
Oh, bankruptcy, sorry. You guys gotta remind me. I live in my own world. So bankruptcy, short sales, foreclosures, those kind of things will get caught in that automated underwrite, and you won't get an approval if you don't meet the seasoning. So for like an FHA loan, if you had a bankruptcy, you only need to be 2 years out from the BK. But if you're doing a conventional loan, which is the majority of loans getting done, you need to be 4 years out of bankruptcy. So there's different guidelines. And we have all these different programs. So don't need to concern yourself with it. But my job is to always show you all the loan options that you qualify for, so then we can get together, review the rates on each program. Some programs have lower rates, some programs have higher rates. Go over the payments and target your sales price based on that current market. So you guys, the rates are volatile. They change a lot. So it's really important you stay close to us, because like Ron said, if you love this house and there's 20 offers on it and you want to come in to get a deal and you're willing to lose that house, but maybe the rates just came down. We saw the rates come down 0.375% on average from Monday to Friday of this last week. I'll explain to you why. But that happens, so maybe you're willing to go up a little bit because you don't want to lose that house and you're comfortable with that payment. So talk to your loan officer. If they're not calling you, you call them, you let them know, I'm shopping for a house, let's go over it. The other thing is property taxes, as you mentioned, right? So a lot of buyers get thrown my way. They had no idea what their total monthly payment was. Whenever you're putting less than 20% down, or 10, depending on the program, so many programs, so we require taxes and insurance to be included in your monthly payment. And sometimes the borrower doesn't understand this house has a high tax rate and you're not expecting it. So you go through the process, write the offer, get the taxes, and you're like, oh my God, this is $400 more than I expected. Or it's in a high fire area and the insurance is way higher. So we don't want that to happen to you. We want it to be a smooth transaction where you go over the payments right before you make the offer. We structure the offer so that it meets your needs. Sometimes that means building a seller credit into the price, depending on what your challenge is. And yes, Rich.
I had a friend of mine that's bought a house in Phoenix, and it didn't go through, but later on he felt, his fortune didn't go through. He had escrow and everything else, but he couldn't get insurance on that house. He says, so we could prevent that here, because he's like, oh my God, I almost got this house and I couldn't.
And he couldn't get it because of the insurance.
Because it was a fire thing.
Yeah, that's a high fire zone. So I don't want to be negative, but I want to tell you guys the truth. There's certain areas in San Diego that are considered high fire. And Linda knows. And so what California has for those type of homes, it's called a California Fair Plan. And it's like a fire policy only, mainly. And then you'll get a second policy called a difference in conditions. But that California Fair Plan can oftentimes be quite more expensive than if you could get a normal insurance policy. And so that's something to think about, especially while you guys are shopping in certain areas. So we can have our little team of who the insurance companies are, and we can send the address to the insurance company in advance, and we can make sure that we know what the pricing is to factor that into your overall payment. And that doesn't mean you're always going to be high fire. We're just going through something right now where a lot of insurance companies pulled out of California because of the fires. And so the California Fair Plan is often the only option. Yeah, it's not fun.
But we would know that in advance.
Yeah.
You can know that in advance.
And we can get you the pricing on the fire insurance in advance.
Absolutely, and
So
we
you know what
recommend it.
You have to know what it is.
Right, and that's what happens is sometimes buyers don't know that, they don't have a good team, they don't have the right realtor, they don't have the right lender, no one's telling them this
And if
stuff.
you're getting a loan, you're going to have to get the insurance in place ahead of time before we close anyway, right?
Before we close, but do you want to do that after you already paid for an appraisal and an inspection?
So you have it in place ahead of time, and you'll know what it is.
Yeah, so that's a big thing that I can tell you right now is coming up. We have a client right now, I can't even believe I'm doing this. We're closing the loan off the quote and the application from California Fair Plan because they are so backed up. 2 weeks ago, they're just like, yeah, we don't know when we're going to get these approved. And we have a close of escrow for our client, and then there's 3 other deals attached to it. So we can't let those people be homeless. I mean, it's really crazy. So insurance, shop for it right away. Even before you write the offer, if you like, if it's in a high fire zone, if it's in like Fallbrook or Escondido, right?
And we know what's considered high fire zones according to the county.
Yeah. And then I always recommend talk to a few insurance brokers because not everybody is going to give you all the options. So it's good to check around. So that's a biggie is the insurance. So writing your offers is important. When I have a full package and we've done everything we need to do, how I win, how my clients get their offer accepted, I call the listing agent oftentimes. If there's a bunch of offers, I'm calling the listing agent. They love it most of the time when I call. I don't disclose anything that I'm not allowed to disclose. I'll talk to you first, make sure it's okay. If I'm allowed to say you have excellent credit, I'll let them know. But generally, we have a full package. We've done our due diligence. We've verified income, verified assets, and we'll close on or before the close of escrow date. All we're missing is the appraisal, the title, and the contract. And that's what they want to hear. And that'll set you apart from some of the other offers that they've got. I've literally had listing agents call me and say, guess what? It was between your client and 2 others, but because you called me and because you've done all your work, we went with your offer. And then sometimes I start working with them. So that's the goal. But that's important that we do those kind of things. And again, depending on how customized or complicated or challenging the loan is, sometimes I'm literally talking to you and Ron and Michelle about how to structure this offer to help make that loan more affordable for you as clients. And I wanted to, I don't know if the slide is in here. Let's see, I can go back to that. Okay, so I'm gonna talk to you guys about something. Have you heard of something called a temporary buy down? Anybody? Okay. So when rates jump the way they have in this last year, sorry, this slide didn't make it. There's a couple ways to make the payment a little lower, right? And some of you are familiar with buying the rate down, and some of you are familiar with buying the rate down permanently, and then there's a temporary buy down. So what does this mean? We don't always have these temporary buy downs available. These only come out when rates jump, like you saw. Like look at this graph. You just have to. I just got back from my branch manager meeting. Can you guys see this? This is only from 2003 to 2023. Do you see that? That's what rates did in like a year. So when rates jump like this, programs and features come out like this. So what is this temporary buy down? Let's say, and I can customize these for your particular loan so you know what it looks like. But this is an example for a client who was getting a 699 rate, 30-year fixed. It's a fixed rate, it's not going to adjust. It's not gonna go higher, it's fixed for 30 years. And what we do is we work up the offer to include a seller credit to fund what we call a buy down. And there's 3 different types of buy downs you can get. There's a 3-2-1, the most common is a 2-1, and then there's a 1-0. What does that mean? If you're at a 699, the first year your payment is going to be based on a 399 rate. It's 3% lower. The second year it's based on a 499 rate. The third year it's based on a 599 rate. And year 4 through 30, it's going to be the 699 30-year fix that you qualified on. So what does that mean? If we're 3% lower in rate on a $977,000 loan, the borrower's monthly payment is $1,835 lower the first year. And that's where you can see some serious reduction in payment and some relief for the first couple of years or 3 years. Yes, Mike?
Does that interest get tacked on to the loan that they're not paying?
No.
So the banks have agreed to take a cut.
No, they're not even taking a cut.
No, they cost $10,000 to buy it down.
Yeah, so let me explain that.
Okay.
That's a good question. So the banks they're not taking anything here. They're not shaving anything off.
I figured.
We're getting the seller, and sometimes the lender, it depends on the program and the rates and where we're at in the market, but most of the time it's seller funded. So let's do the 2-1, that's more realistic. So you're a 699 rate, first year you're 499. Second year, you're 599. Third year, you're 699. To the rest of it, hopefully, you're going to refinance in 2 years, 2 to 3 years, maybe next year. None of these loans have prepayment penalties. That you'll know if there's a prepayment penalty, but most loans don't. So you're looking at about 2 to 2.5% of the loan amount that we need the seller to fund. So this example is a big loan. It's $977,000, but guess how much we'd need, Ron?
Let's see.
$22,000. For a $970,000 loan. But think of it this way, if your loan's $500,000 and it's 2 to 2.5% depending on the interest rate, you're looking at $10,000 to $13,000 for the seller to fund this.
So let me interject real quick. So as your buyer, as representing you on this offer, and maybe we see, I'm just gonna use round numbers, maybe they're asking $500 for the house. And you're like, well, can we get a deal on it? We wanna come in maybe a little bit lower. So you'll come in and you'll ask for maybe $10,000 off of the price, and you'll offer $490. Okay. Well, that offering $10,000 off of the price is going to lower your payment about $62. But if instead we give the seller, give them the $500 they're asking for, ask for the $10,000 in a credit for this loan, that will lower your payment about $342. Just a different use of the $10,000.
Mm-hmm. And these are seller credits, so we can apply it as a temporary buy down. You can change your mind and use that $10,000 towards a permanent buy down. You're not going to get 2% lower with 2 points.
And the buy down is actually better because, like, honestly, we could go into the seller and say, okay, you're asking $500, we'll give you $510 for the house, but we need a $10,000 credit back so that we can do this loan. And will they get their $500 and you get your lower loan amount?
Win, win, win.
And now, but not all your realtors are going to know this or know how to do any of this.
And it's honestly how you present it, because I've had clients whose realtors don't present it to the listing agent that way, and the listing agent's like, why did they want all this credit? And they just got offended. But when you're explaining to them, look, my buyer was going to write an offer to you at $490. But we're gonna go in at $5 because we want 10 grand, and that's the way either my buyer qualifies, sometimes it's a qualifying issue, so you can't even write an offer, or that's the way my buyer can afford this home. And sellers, it will not be the first time they've heard, oh, my buyer can't afford this home. Rates hit over 8% a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, October 19th, 30-year fix, average in the country, conventional was 8.03. So it's not the first time they've heard this. So my point is we can really customize each and every offer. That this one house might be high fire, so let's do this instead, or let's get a little more from the seller, buy the rate down permanently, or do a combination of both. But the temporary buy down, one benefit of it is, say you refinance, because you're getting all this money from the seller, $22,000, and let's say you've had the loan a year. There's still $7,700 sitting in that account. So basically every month, the lender's pulling from that account to make up the difference. You pay less, and they're pulling what the real payment would have been. So you refinance and you've got $7,700 sitting in there. You don't lose that money. That money is going to go towards the principal payoff. So your loan balance will be $7,700 less. And that's another benefit of a program like this. But again, you have to get the seller to agree to give you money at closing. So it's how you present the offer. Yeah. So that's really important. So I just wanted you guys to know there's ways we fight the affordability challenge in buying the rate down, or temporary buying the rate down, or a combination of both. Or yes.
So what she's saying too is important for myself and Anna, who usually works with a lot of the buyers, is that we know when we're out looking at properties how we're going to approach the property for you. So we don't just go in, we're with Summer the whole time saying how, like with Elena, we are doing this temporary buy down. So no matter where we go in the city, Riley and I are trying to figure out what the actual, because there's HOA fees that go into all this. So we have to have all of our numbers exactly perfect, and then boom, she can write that offer based upon this program. So the pre-qual is important, because if you're not having that discussion, then we don't know how to go out and find what Elena wants, which is specific, and it's helpful. Because otherwise we would put Elena into something, and then she falls out. Well, poor Elena, by the end of the experience, hates my guts, hates the real estate market, and is upset.
Yeah, we don't want that.
And we don't want that. We want to be specific. So, anyways.
Yeah, no, really good point.
Do you have any questions
yeah,
for Summer?
Any questions, Norma?
Okay, well, because my daughters are looking into buying a condo, so I'm almost wondering, is it worth buying a condo, or should I go straight for a home? Like, I guess
So,
it just doesn't seem like, since they're gonna eventually move into a house, but they're still in college.
Right. That's a good personal question.
Well, I can speak to that, Norma, because it's a single family house is going to bring certain things that a condo doesn't bring. Maintenance, keeping it up, repairs, all that kind of stuff. Most of that stuff's taken care of in the condominium. And for a couple of young gals getting started, it could have its advantages.
So can they keep it until they're done with college and then sell it? But would they be able to afford a home then, selling
Depends on what's up with the market. But if they're in college for 4 or 5 years and we're paying into the mortgage, and the values continue to climb like I just showed you, they're expecting to climb.
Do condos hold their value like a home does?
They hold their value. They don't increase and decrease like a single family does. A single family they're more desirable, so they increase faster and higher. But condos still go up. It's just a little bit different, but very much the same.
And from a financing standpoint, condos are a little more, they require more due diligence, if that makes sense. There's a condo cert involved, and depending on the type of loan, we call condos warrantable or non-warrantable. And we want to lend on a warrantable condo that yields the best rate, the lowest down payment options, and things like that. So we're looking at the health of the condo and the project. Do they have a budget? Do they have reserves to meet the guidelines for that budget? How much of the condo is owner occupied versus non-owner occupied? So there's things like that. If it's
We'll help you through that.
yeah, we'll help you guys all through that, and don't get scared of it. But when we're pre-approving a client, the HOA dues are often part of the pre-approval. I mean, if I have a client who's making a ton of money and has very little debt, then the HOA dues don't matter. You can go get $3,000 a month HOAs, who cares? But when we are dealing with first-time home buyers or one-income people, it's often very difficult to qualify on your own with just any amount of HOA dues, right? So I will be very specific. I will tell you, here's your pre-approval for a condo with $350 in HOA dues at $500. But guess what? You found a house that has $450 HOA dues, but that was your max. So that means $450 HOA dues means a little lower purchase price. And if the HOA dues are lower than the free 50, then we can go higher in purchase price. So that's where, like I'm telling you, it's a lot of communication. It's stay close. Let's pull tax bills, confirm HOA dues, where's the current market today, and keep you qualifying so you're looking at the right homes. And you don't want to miss any inventory because there's barely any, right? So we want to like have you see as much inventory as you can possibly qualify for.
Can you guys give us updates like for when you're looking for a condo? Like if you find one, you're like, oh, this one would work. You guys like, how do you keep up with it?
We keep you guys on a criteria search within our MLS, and it sends out homes to you based upon what your buyers would like. So for example, with them right now, it's the criteria is 50 below, they want 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, certain areas within San Diego County, and we keep an eye on it for them. And then it's alerted, oh, this really matches the criteria, and we're on the phone with you, hey, we need to go into this property. So, yeah.
So I'll wrap this up because I can talk forever. They know. So I'll tell you what happened this week. And this is very small, so you can't see it. But for the first time, we are talking about the feds and when they're going to cut rates. We have not talked about this all year. We've been trying to stop hiking rates all year. Like, oh, the Fed's gonna hike again. Oh, yes, they are, because inflation didn't hit the numbers they wanted. In the beginning of the year, they were saying, look, we want to see inflation come down and we'll stop hiking rates. So guess what? Inflation came down. It did come down. It came down pretty decently. But then they changed their tune. It was not just coming down, it's we want it to be at 2%. And they kept hiking rates and hiking rates and hiking rates, and that's where you saw the rates continue to increase. We also have other things, data, where they're data dependent. We have labor reports coming out every month. We have jobless claims. We have PPI reports, just all kinds of different data that comes out that affects rates. But all of that stuff was pointing to the rates kind of increasing. The Feds thought last year inflation was transitory. That was their mistake. They should have just raised rates a little bit, and we wouldn't have been in this big, huge problem. That's what our experts say. But this last week, on Tuesday, the inflation reports came out, the CPI reports. That's the one that can move it the most. They came in lower than expectations, and we had a really good rally. Wednesday, the rates went up a little bit because some retail reports came in that weren't favorable, so we lost a little bit of the gains. But then Thursday, jobless claims came out, and those came in higher than expected, which means there were more jobless claims, which means the labor market's not as strong as they keep saying it is. And that rallied another little bit in the interest rates. So last week was like the first time we saw some decent relief in interest rates. It depends on the program, but in general, it's anywhere from 1/4 to 0.5% from Monday to the end of the week. And so that was really good news. So when are the Feds meeting next? We're not expecting much to happen in December when they meet on the 13th. They shouldn't be, hopefully, hiking rates for any reason. You never know, though, because you just never know. There's a lot of geopolitical uncertainty. You guys, the war, like anything can happen. So I hate to promise that rates are going to come down, but most of the experts think we're behind it now. This is really what we're hoping. So this is a little graph of their meetings next year and the odds of them starting to cut rates. And if they start cutting rates, hopefully rates will come down even sooner. So the projections that Ron showed you, I just got back from my branch manager meeting, projecting about 1 to 1.5% reduction in rate by the end of next year. And hopefully that happens. But if they start cutting rates, that'll be a really good sign. And the goal is marry the house, date the rate, right?
If we buy, like, let's say they already know what they want, like, we want this house, and we buy it with a high interest rate, can we always, like, how you guys were talking about the programs later on, like, can we
That's called a refinance, yes. So when you refinance, you're paying off the existing loan, and you're getting a new one based on the current market rates. So the question's going to be, when's the right time to do that refinance? As they start coming down, do you want to refinance right away, or we think they're going to keep coming down? You don't want to keep refinancing too often, and you're kind of stripping your equity. we don't like doing that to you. But there are no cost loans too. You know, if the rates make sense at that point, you can always do a no cost refi. There could be a cost refi where you're going to get a lower rate though. So it's you'll talk to your loan officer and make a decision that's best for you.
The whole time, or is it just?
Oh yeah, you can always come back to me. You can always
So
come back to
normally
us.
you do the loan with someone,
For any new
and then the
loan.
loan is done, and then you're working with the bank on the mortgage, and then she's done with that now. She's not managing the account or anything. When you want to refinance again, you'll go back to her and she'll handle it for you.
Yeah, you can always come back to us and we'll
Any
go
other
over
questions
it.
for Summer?
Anybody that we didn't cover? Ron did a great job covering so much
There
of
you go.
our
Let's hear it for
presentation.
Summer Reynolds, everybody.
All right, thank you. And I have business cards up there too.
And then before we have lunch, we just asked one more guest. He's going to give a quick talk, Mr. Mike Jernell from PRP Inspections. He's a home inspector, and he's going to give us that little bit of info on that process. Come on up, Mike, and
Thank you.
say hi to everybody.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I've been in the home inspection industry since 2005, and I started my own company from scratch. And I have just some basically a little snippet of your inspection report and what it's going to look like, because these are really important, to tell you the truth. So there's only 6 pages here, but typically these are about 35 to 40. You're good. 35 to 40. Thank you. About 35 to 45 pages, depending on the size of the house. You want something professional to look at. And with that being said, and thank you. So, does everybody have one? Perfect. Thank you so much. So, with that being said, I've done about 5,500 home inspections in my career, all by myself, not by anybody else. I do have one guy that works with my company. I let him start up a satellite because he was a prior Marine like myself, and he needed to support his family. So I let him start up a satellite and did from there. So anyhow, that's pretty much my intro. That's how long I've been in the market. I've been doing this, like I said, forever. It's my primary income. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy helping people. I love to educate people, and I like to hear myself speak sometimes, to tell you the truth. So with that being said, it is what it is. So a lot of people say, why get a home inspection? That's always the biggest question, because they are kind of expensive, especially now they're going up just like everything else. The biggest reason is because a lot of homes now are sold as is, and you're accepting that home as is. And with that being said, you want to know what as is. And a lot of things, and you're already maxed out how much you can buy versus how much you can afford. And so when you run into HVAC systems that are currently $10,000 to $12,000 now to have replaced, additional insulation, $2,000 to $3,000 in your attic, new roofs, which are anywhere from 10 to 40, 50K, that all matters. I actually did roofing prior to being a home inspector, and one of the reasons I got into the home inspection industry is because I found out that most home inspectors 20 years ago didn't even get on roofs. And I was like, how can you call yourself a home inspector when you're not getting on the roof? So with that being said, I got on roofs, and that was my niche in the market. So long story short, I still do. I get on 90% of the roofs. As long as they're, I can reach them, and as long as they're not soft clay tile, I will walk the roof, which is better than a lot of guys. They have these drones now, and they fly over top your roof. I bought the best drone that you could buy 10 years ago thinking, I'm never going to get on a roof again. I couldn't see what I needed to see. So I just went right back to getting onto the roofs. I couldn't tell people confidently, hey, your roof's in good shape by flying a drone over top of it. I still don't believe you can. There's certain angles that roofs, flashings, metal has to be at first. So with that being said, I think the best inspection is for somebody to look at the roof, if it's obtainable, by being on the roof itself. A lot of things, like I said, a lot of things with the home, basically upfront cost is going to be your roof, your HVAC systems, windows, doors, things that need to be replaced if they're rotted out or things like that. That's going to be in the inspection report. Future costs. A lot of times I can tell you, hey, your hot water heater is 10 years old. You're going to need a hot water heater probably in the next 3 or 4 years, and you should account for that. They're about $2,500 now installed. They're rather expensive, to tell you the truth. Same thing with roofs. I can give you a good guess on what the age of your roof is and about how long it's going to last, because I've been doing this for, like I said, 20 years, and I've seen thousands and thousands of roofs. So future costs. Another thing is, preventive maintenance. That's my biggest claim to fame, is I like to educate people on how are you going to save money? How are you going to save money to avoid floods? Basically take care of your roof a little bit better. I always educate people on flat roofs are the best products to put on top of them. Things like that, things that a lot of people don't know. Simple little, there's a $5 little water sensor you can put on your hot water, on your furnace that will basically shut your system down and prevent your HVAC system from flooding your house that nobody knows about. And a lot of guys don't even put them in because they don't know about it, they don't use it. But I educate people on that too, as I put it in this report so you can always refer back to it. And with that being said, any questions on any of this so far? Any questions if you had a home inspection? Or you're thinking, oh wow.
How much does a home inspection cost?
Right now, the average home inspection for condos is about $400, $450, and your standard home inspection for your average house in San Diego is $550 to $600 right now.
When do we pay that?
At the time of the inspection, you will pay. This is one of the upfront costs that you're going to have to pay: is the home inspection and the appraisal. So those are the two things that you'll pay for at the time. I don't know why it's set out that way. I understand though, because a lot of people, if they don't go through with the house, they don't want to pay those costs. So you have to, people don't understand. People don't like to pay those costs when they don't buy the house and they back out. Let's see.
Can they come when you're doing the home inspection?
There's the best question ever. A lot of home inspectors are like, don't bother me. Don't bother me when I'm working. I am not that guy. I want you to follow me around. I want you to talk to me. I want to know everything that you want to know about this house because, again, I like to educate. I really do. And then you're seeing what you're paying for is what you're seeing. That's another thing. You're seeing, hey, this guy he went up in this attic, he came out, he was sweaty, he stunk, you know what I mean? Whatever. This guy worked hard. Exactly. That's what you want to see. You want to see where I'm going, what I'm doing, what I'm looking at. If you see something at that time and go, hey, what about this? I will answer that question for you. 99% of the time, I have the answer to that question because I've been doing this for as long as I have.
So, Mike, is it a good idea, even if you're selling your home, to get one of these done?
I work with probably 200-300 agents right now, and I have about 3 agents solidly that do pre-listing inspections, and they believe that if they spend that $400 or $500, that there's or $500 or $600. As soon as that house hits the market, they hand this inspection report over to their potential buyers. It basically eases the entire transaction. There's no surprises at the end. Nobody ever comes. I've never had anybody call me. I shouldn't say that. I've never had anybody call me and say, hey, you didn't comment on this. But, because I take my time to do these very, very thoroughly. And with that being said, I believe, and they firmly believe, that it helps the transaction. So, yes, I do believe that it's important. And as a matter of fact, if you go north of San Diego, LA, and even San Francisco area, a house doesn't even hit the market unless it has a pre-listing inspection, as a matter of fact. So, with that being said, San Diego kind of does it backwards. I hope someday that it does turn around because it takes a lot of stress off of people, and
It's just the agents don't recommend it.
they don't. No, they don't. They don't want to deter anybody from potentially picking them. But it is ideally recommended to have a home inspection before you sell your house. Absolutely.
And Ron, what can you explain how we use this during the inspection period?
So we get the inspection from Mike, or get the report from Mike, and then we go over that with you and find out, we go over with you what he found. He may find things that are cosmetic. He may find things that are more serious, things that are absolutely need to be changed or repaired or fixed. So he goes over that, or we go over that with you. You decide what is it you'd like to come back to the seller with. Because it's not necessarily negotiating time again, but if you want certain things repaired in order to move forward, that's when we're going to negotiate that. So we'll put in a request for any of the repairs on this report that you'd like to have corrected by the seller. We'll send that request over, and then the seller has to agree, and it's kind of a negotiating thing. But we always recommend that they fix safety issues, molds, things like that. Some of the important stuff. As a homeowner buying a resale house, you got to take on that there's going to be some pride of ownership going on, meaning you're going to be at Lowe's and Home Depot every other Saturday, more than likely, like the rest of us, fixing your house, making it better, doing little things. But based on his report, we go back to the sellers and see if we can negotiate these repairs.
One other thing I do offer, a lot of people do now, it's called an infrared camera, and basically that allows me to scan the walls, floors, and ceilings of the house. And I can see hot spots or cold spots with that camera, something that the naked eye can't see. That can indicate a leak in your ductwork. That could indicate missing insulation, potential wire issues in the wall where wires are heating up and such. I can find leaks from toilets and tubs that you can't see because that water lays on top of that drywall, and that camera will see that cold spot where that water's making that cold. I've found so many things that I had never found because I didn't get that camera until about 10 years ago. So the probably previous 8-9 years, there was things I'm sure I missed because I couldn't see it, where the camera does. And with that being said, it's always recommended that you have an inspector with an infrared camera. Also, I didn't bring one with me, but if you have an inspection agreement, every home inspector has an inspection agreement. And basically that's an agreement between you and me saying, this is what I'm liable for, this is what I inspect, and you should read any home inspector's inspection agreement, because some of them are 20 pages long, and they basically disclose, I'm not responsible for this, and this, and if I am, and if you do find that I missed something, I'm only willing to pay out 2 to 3 times the cost of the inspection. Some guys have that in their contracts. I do not have that in my
So you
contract.
guys are inspectors and lawyers at the same time.
Our insurance companies make sure of it. So, because it's less they have to pay out. So with that being said, last but not least is customer service. I firmly believe in good customer service. I come from a small town where everybody knew everybody talked to everybody, and I answer my phone. If you call that number that's on the front of this thing, I assure you I will answer. If I don't answer, I will call you right back. Myself personally have called multiple contractors, plumbers, just all kinds of people, got voicemails, didn't get callbacks, didn't just no professionalism in most of today's market. I can tell that Summer, you're very professional. I know by working with this team that they're very professional. I only want to work with professionals myself, so I'm always available. I assure you, it's on a weekend, it's 8 o'clock at night, I'll pick up the phone, answer any question that you have. I won't leave you hanging. You can email me, text me. Other than that, that's really it. Does anybody have any questions or concerns for me? Yes, sir.
When you do the waste and drainage, the plumbing,
Yes.
what do you do there?
Yeah. So as far as waste and drainage, there are some inspectors that have bought cameras that they go down the sewer lines with. I did not want to get involved in that, tell you the truth. So I highly recommend you use a different company because they're going to charge you too. So it's basically, I always recommend a company called the Sewer Pros. There's multiple guys out there that do it, but what I do is run all the plumbing in the house. And I run a lot. Unfortunately, I waste a lot of water, tell you the truth. But I have to basically run every sink, every plumbing fixture. I have flooded homes because the main line was drained, was clogged, and it just backed up into the house. So I know, usually I'll find it if it's a heavy backup, but I do recommend you run a camera down that sewer line, every single house. Just nowadays, because it's extremely expensive to either reline a pipe or to basically unclog one too. So.
Yeah, we got a plumber that'll do that drain camera for you as well.
Right, which is super important, to tell you the truth. Any other questions or concerns? Yes.
So the infrared camera, is it over and above your usual price?
No, it's included in my price. It's included, yeah. There's no extra cost for that, just so you know. Same thing with the roof inspection. Some guys will charge you extra for, they're basically what they're doing is called upselling. So they'll get the inspection and then upsell you when you get there. That's how people make a lot of money or make more money. I don't do that. It's an upfront cost. What I quote you is what it is. So.
Patrick?
Do you only do San Diego County or?
I go as far as South Riverside as well. I've been as far as San Ysidro. So
Orange County,
I've been to Orange County. Yeah, I was just up there about 2 months ago. To tell you the truth, I don't mind going up there. Typically, if I travel that far, I do throw a little extra $20, $30 in because I drive a big old Dodge diesel, which doesn't get very good fuel economy. So.
I guess I had a question regarding that. So I just started, when I first got my home 10 years ago, we had an inspector who signed everything off, and it was nothing like that. We had AC, our plumbing was totally ruined. So over the past 10 years, they were repairing everything. The roof needed to be redone. There was leaks in the rain that winter. So I was wondering how far you go in case like they decide to move further. Then do we have somebody else who's honest and
Oh yeah, we have all that for you, Norma. Yeah.
Okay, because that's.
Don't tell Mike. We have other inspectors.
Okay.
Don't go with them. No. Realistically, like I said, there's about, in my professional opinion, there's probably about 10 good solid home inspectors in San Diego County, to tell you the truth. The rest of them are, they're either just got into business or they just do it on the side, you know, but there's a good solid 10 inspectors.
How does that happen? How are they able to get away with that and inspect your home and you're paying a lot of money? It doesn't make sense.
Realtors will recommend them. That's the thing. Realtors will recommend them because one, they're kind of like, they sugarcoat things. They don't tell you exactly the way it is, or they just kind of like make things seem a little better than what they could be, because the realtor wants the sale. I mean, as with every industry, there's people in the industry that are just not honest and they're out to make a buck. And unfortunately, you just need to be careful. I used to recommend Yelp. I have about 165 5-star reviews on Yelp right now. I don't solicit people for reviews. I don't pay people for reviews. A lot of companies out there will be like, oh, I'll give you, $40 off your inspection if you write me a 5-star review. That's not how it's supposed to work, but unfortunately, that's what they're doing. So,
and Norma, let me explain, also, Mike, you correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't think I am, but they don't, as a home inspector, you don't go get licensed. You're not bonded. There's not accreditation to get. Now, he's been in the industry for a long time.
Yeah.
But to be a home inspector, I just have to go get a business card.
That's it.
And I can say I'm a home inspector.
And that's the reason I got into the business, because it was the easiest business for me to get into. But I took it seriously. I worked with all the trades before I started this business. I actually used to fix F-18s for the Marine Corps. That was my profession back in the day. And so with that being said, I fixed F-18s at night, and I worked with the trades for about 2 years before I became a home inspector. So I learned all the trades. I worked for these guys for free. I was just basically picking their brains for 8 hours a day until I felt comfortable with their profession. So long story short, anybody can be a home inspector. Be careful with who you choose. And the cheapest guy is not always the best guy, I assure you. That's with every trade, tell you the truth. A lot of people don't want to spend the extra $100, $150, but sometimes one item on an inspection can save you thousands of dollars, or just preventive maintenance or anything like that. And it's worth the extra couple $100, I assure you.
Well, then, Mike, I'll interject. And you're fun to work with.
I'd like to have a good time.
Like, do you say you do mold too?
No, I don't do mold inspections. No, there are people that do separate mold inspections as well. Again, it's an upcharge. It's something you pay for. With that being said, it's up to you if you want to have a mold inspection. That's the long story short. I will look under sinks. I'll look in areas where prone to have types of mold, but I don't do air quality tests. A mold inspection, basically what they do is they have a petri dish that they pump air through, or they sit in the house for 24 hours. Then they send it off to a lab and they look to see if there's any spores in it. That's what a mold inspection really is. That and basically, looking in areas that I'm going to look as well. So, do I do a half a mold inspection? Absolutely, but I don't get into the scientific aspect.
So Norma, he'll say there could be something that looks, it appears it could be mold, and then we get a specialist out
Then
there.
we can go, because we got sick from the mold. Our whole house was painted over the mold in the restrooms.
Now he'll find that, and then we get a specialist out there, and then we got
If there's any evidence of any black-like substance on a wall anywhere, I will label it as such. Recommend a mold inspection. If you're prone to mold, some people could lay in a bed of mold and be just fine. Other people, are very prone to getting sick to it. If you're buying a house, I will highly recommend that you have a mold inspection done. Just because if it's something, if you're something you're not immune to per se, or you're very sensitive to it, you should have that inspection done for sure.
Let's hear it for Mike.
Thank you.
Who's hungry? We're gonna have some lunch right now. I wanted to say one thing to you before we wrap this up. So, a lot of times, and as I said, it doesn't take a license to get into the business of home inspection. Well, to get into real estate is not that big of a deal anyway. And I just want everyone to know. Okay, so in San Diego County, there's 16,000 real estate agents licensed in San Diego County. 95% of them will do less than 3 sales a year. That means they'll do 2 or they'll do 1 transaction in a year. 95%. Of the ones that do a transaction, or I'm sorry, I should say, let me back up. The NAR reports that 50% of the agents in the U.S. will not do 1 deal. And of the 50% that do, it's 3 or less. That means they're doing 3, 2, or 1 sales in a year. So when you're picking your agent, I appreciate you considering us. Understand, I have 28 years in the business. We've done over 1,000 transactions, and we are here to help your needs and help you complete your family's move. That's why we're here. Okay? So what's the next step? The next step for you after today's meeting is that when it's convenient for you or when it's appropriate, you schedule a 30-minute home valuation where Michelle and I will come out to view your property, take a look at it, and run all the numbers for you, and then tell you what the price is, what it'll cost to sell, and how long it will take. If you're buying a home next, is that your next move? Then you set up with Michelle and I and Anna and Riley just an in-office buyer consultation. So you'll just come here for a few minutes. We're going to talk about you, get you all lined up, and then get you ready to go and shaped up as a buyer. And then for those of you buying also, it's time to start your pre-approval, and you would just give the summer and providing her all the information that she asked for. Okay? All right, good. Last, next month, Santa's coming to town. And I know Jake's happy. I saw you smiling, Jake. No, Santa's coming here to this office next month, December 9th. From 11 to 4, I think it's a Saturday, 11 to 4. We have Santa Claus here. You can come free of charge. Bring your friends, bring your kids, bring your pets. You can have your picture taken with Santa, and it's just part of our giving back. And
Jump house?
do
You're gonna have
something.
a
We have
jump house?